Next is comment on the findings. Unfortunately, I don't have comments in there. Usually I have them in there. So if you do see past exam papers, but I will explain. I will spend a little bit of time here. So I don't know if you want to scribble out a few notes as we're going through it. There's my interpolation that I mentioned. Okay, estimate them. So I already went through that. Let's interpret these findings. Let's start off with the last part here, the R squared and the value of R. Remember, R tells us the strength of the relationship between two variables, and the closer the answer is to 1, the stronger the relationship. The closer the answer is 0, the weaker the relationship. In other words, 0 is no relationship at all. So we have pretty much a middle of the road figure here between 0 and 1, a 0.54. So it's suggesting to us that even though we might believe the longer you stay in education, the better your income, it's not actually always the case according to this figure here. It's theoretically, it's okay of a relationship, but if it was reality, this is a strong relationship. In reality, why I say it's in reality it's a strong relationship, it's because we are only isolating one figure as a cause of as determining the other one. In other words, we're saying that your income is determined by the number of years of education, and we know that's not true. Your income is going to be determined by other factors, not only education. So if we only look at education and we get a 0.54, that's actually quite a good relationship or a strong enough relationship to determine your future income. We know, again, as I said, other features or other factors feature with the whatever you might have. You could be entrepreneurial, you might have no third level background, but you probably the wealthiest person in the country. Okay, and that's just because of hard work, sheer dedication, and then there's always the element of luck for everybody. Whatever luck caused you to have a slightly higher level of income than other people who might have the same level of education as you. Okay, so that's just one interpretation regarding R. Regarding R squared, just to brief you on this, and I know you have this in your notes because I did go through it with you. I did get you to write it down and I dictated out the solutions, and I said to you, if you know all of this, all you have to do is put in, instead of X, you put in your variable that you have specified here, which happens to be your level of education, and your income, which is going to be replaced by Y. The coefficient of determination, coefficient means that it's a measure, it's a number that measures something. So a correlation coefficient, we just measure the strength of relationship. The coefficient of determination just tells us how much one variable determines the outcome of another. And we need to square that, and we got a 29% in this example, which means that 29% of any change in Y is caused by any change to X. So that's it in general form. You have that written down, I know you do. So all I have to do is replace the X and Y with the actual variable. So I'm going to repeat that again. 29% of any change in Y is caused by a change in X. Put it in the actual variables. 29% of any change to the level of income is caused by changes to the number of years in education. That's just telling us that the more you spend in education, you're going to get an increase in income, but it only explains 29% of that, which is pretty low. Okay, so it's not always the case where you have more education and doesn't always correlate to more income, but still there's a relationship there. So I'm not done with the interpretation. I've only interpreted part B, or sorry, I've only interpreted part D. I need to interpret part B. So we need to go back. This is something you might prefer to do first. I'm just working backwards since the numbers were already there. So here's part B. I need to interpret, in other words, this formula. I need to interpret this, what's going on here with A and B. But let's go back to, it's hard to interpret A because it's negative. Anyway, let's have a look at part B. B is called a slope coefficient. So again, there's the word coefficient, which means it's a measure term, so it's measuring something. It's a multiple of X, which means it has a multiplicative outcome. So whatever X is, it's multiplied by B. In other words, that's how powerful X is when it comes to Y. So if I have X was 2 or 2 years of education, my income would jump by 6.76. Okay, so Y would equal to 6.76 multiplied by 2. Remember, that's income is in thousands. So I would have about 6 times 2 or 6.7 times 2, which is about, I don't know, what's that, about 13,500 euro. That'd be my level of income with 2 years of education. If I decide to do a degree, a 4-year degree, I'm expected to have income to be 4 times that 6.76. So if you multiply 4, I'll just do it here. Just say you did a 4.5-year degree, if there was such a thing, because we already have the figure here. Okay, if you did 4.5-year degree, your income will be about 29,860 euro. Again, that's just the average for all 8 countries. In Ireland, it could be higher than other countries like maybe Portugal. Okay, so that's just an average for the countries. So that B is telling us how powerful X is relative to Y, and the higher the value for B, the more powerful or impactful it is that X has on the value for Y, the outcome for Y. What happens here if, to explain A? To explain A, I always like to put in 0 for X. If I put 0 in for X, we're told that Y is equal to A, okay, because this doesn't feature anymore. In other words, if X was 0, or if level of education is 0, you had no education whatsoever, what do you think your income is going to be here? Do you have an income? Because Y is income. So if X was 0, we're told that income is minus 0.5663. In other words, you might not have an income, and you probably have borrowed money and you owe money. This might not be the case, like, because, you know, if you've done primary level of education into secondary, you know, you're going to work even if you have no education at all. Surely there's some work for you there. But if you had a 0 level of education, you will not have an income according to this model. You will actually owe money. So you might be in debt, having to borrow money to have your day-to-day living expenses or whatever. Okay, so that's what that A is simply telling us. If A happens to be positive, say it was positive 0.5, you will say that if you have no education, okay, your income is going to be 566 euro a year. Okay, that's what you're living on, okay, according to these countries.